Good morning. I'm Dr. Himani, postgraduate resident of anesthesia in GGS Medical College, Faridkot. Today I'm presenting the paper on management of atypical eclampsia with intraventricular hemorrhage. The cerebrovascular accident during hypertensive episodes of pregnancy is a rare entity but carries a significant risk to life because of its unpredictable onset and late diagnosis. The incidence of stroke during pregnancy ranges from 10 to 34 per 1 lakh deliveries, and eclampsia is one of the major risk factors in this. In few patients, eclampsia is complicated by its atypical presentation, which is characterized by absence of hypertension and proteinuria, which are the classic signs, and no specific time for the onset of symptoms. Here we are reporting a case regarding management of atypical eclamptic patient complicated by IVH. A 20-year primary gravida of 35 weeks gestation with previous normal antenatal care brought to emergency with the complaints of sudden onset of severe headache and epigastric pain since morning. No abnormality detected on clinical examination. Her vitals were heart rate 102 per minute, BP of 170 by 100 mm mercury, and maintaining saturation on room air. So, on the basis of provisional diagnosis of imminent eclampsia, supportive treatment started to control the BP. So she received the injection of labetalol 20 mg IV stat for high BP and magnesium sulfate 5 gram IM in each buttock, along with 4 gram by IV infusion over 20 minutes as prophylaxis of seizures. Her blood investigations like CBC, RFT, LFT, coagulation profile, and blood sugar were normal. Complete urine examination showed no proteinuria. Within 8 hours of admission, patient had sudden generalized tonic-clonic seizures, for which supportive treatment including oxygen support and drugs like midaz, phenytoin, and magnesium sulfate were given. The emergency LACS planned in view of persistent post-ictal drowsiness, low GCS, and high BP, for which standard GA with rapid sequence induction was done. During intro-op, high BP after intubation was controlled with injection labetalol 20 mg IV stat, and a healthy male baby delivered with a GAR score of 7 by 10 at 1 and 5 minutes respectively. Post-op patient was shifted to ICU for elective ventilation due to poor GCS of 6 by 10, and immediately ABG was done, which was found to be normal. So magnesium was continued as per protocol with monitoring for magnesium toxicity along with antihypertensive drugs in the ICU. After 24 hours of surgery, CT scan of the head was planned because of persisting low GCS, that is 4 by 10. This is a CT scan of the head showing intraventricular hemorrhage and diffuse cerebral edema. So, on the advice of neurosurgeon, conservative treatment with the injection mannitol, Lasix, and Levipil started. So, on post-op day 4, improvement in GCS was noted and weaning from the ventilator started. After the return of full conscious level, patient extubated on day 7, and repeat CT of the head showed resolving IVH with no brain edema. Thus, patient was discharged on 10th day in satisfactory condition with advice of regular follow-up. So, eclampsia is defined as the presence of new onset grand mal seizures in a woman with preeclampsia that cannot be explained by another cause. It complicates 0.05 to 0.3% of all the pregnancies, 2 to 3% of preeclampsia with maternal mortality of 1.4 to 1.8%. The most common cause of convulsions developing during pregnancy or in immediate postpartum period is eclampsia, but rarely other conditions like ischemia, hemorrhagic stroke, hypertensive encephalopathy, seizure disorder, and metabolic disorders can mimic eclampsia. So besides the cases of eclampsia with the typical clinical course, now there is a growing evidence of atypical forms of disease regarding the time of onset and the clinical course. In our case, patient was asymptomatic till 35 weeks of antenatal period and suddenly developed the neurological symptoms with the high blood pressure. So instead of having support for our diagnosis of atypical eclampsia, persistent post-ictal drowsiness and low GCS directed us for considering other differential diagnoses, as we thought that sudden onset headache, seizure, and persistent low GCS could be of antepartum intracranial hemorrhage, could possibly because of rupture of blood vessels. Anesthetic management in the unconscious eclamptic patients may present with several challenges to the anesthetist, like perioperative control of high BP, risk of laryngeal edema due to difficult airway, rapid sequence induction while minimizing the stress response of laryngoscopy, drug interactions between magnesium sulfate and muscle relaxants, and regarding the use of internal jugular cannulations. Very few cases of successful management in eclamptic patients with intracerebral hemorrhage by craniotomy with cesarean section has been reported. So here we are reporting a very informative case of atypical eclamptic patient with intraventricular hemorrhage, which was successfully managed by timely diagnosis and conservative management. So to conclude, as an anesthetist and intensivist, we must always keep the possibility of hemorrhagic stroke in eclamptic patients, especially in the absence of typical features, and we emphasize the need of more careful examination and search for more subtle signs and symptoms of eclampsia in pregnant patients, whereas in case of fatal complications like IVH, early diagnosis and team approaching, including anesthetist, obstetrician, and neurosurgeon, can improve the outcome in these patients. These are the references.